Today I'm here with my new Carvera Air from Makera. This has quickly become one of my most favorite tools. Super excited to walk you guys through this whole thing today, give you the best overview that I can, and find out if it's right for you, which may surprise many of you. Makera is a company that's set out to make these desktop CNCs for makers, and this has quickly become one of my most favorite tools. Super excited to walk you guys through this whole thing today, give you the best overview that I can, and I want to get into exactly what my experience has been with using this over the past few weeks and what you can expect if you decide to do the same. Now, this is what the system looks like sitting here in my workshop. It just fits in so well. Fits comfortably on this standard Cobalt workbench, enclosed so chips don't get everywhere. It also has the ability to hook up a vacuum to the back side here, and this is the air assist pump that you can set up as well. Now, it doesn't include a pump, but I've added this 30-liter variable, and it just hooks up with an 8mm tube to the back side. Now, inside of the machine itself, you'll find a standard 3-axis CNC. This is your X, Y, the table moves front to back, and then Z is it moving up and down. Now, there's also an additional 4th axis option that you can pick up, as well as a laser head. And I've got both of those, as well as we'll try and show you the whole package today. When you initially get this machine is packed with packaging material, as well as all of the accessories and tools that are needed for the machine, and they're just tucked nicely into this machine. You just end up unpacking everything, and then you've got a little bit of setup to do, but it's pretty painless. Now, I've currently got my table set up here with some of their included fixtures, including this L stop for the corner, and then some of these clamps that I've been using for some of my recent setups. Setups are something that you're going to be doing constantly, so this stuff all is just made modular. You can see there's threaded holes in the main board of the table, so you can use machine screws in there. Everything is held down really well, and that is a joy to use. I love what they've done creating this base. In the corner of the table is the tool setter, and that's what sets the offset of your actual tool. And tool changes on this are wildly easy. You just pull this lever down. When it's down, you can pull the original tool out, put your new one in, and then just push the lever back up. It's easier to do than changing the bit in a Dremel, and I absolutely love what they've done with this setup. This piece here is a 3D printed spindle fan that was hosted on Maker World. So if I didn't want to use the air assist that is here on the side, this was wildly useful and kind of made an air pump even not necessary. This moves so much air, an easy option. And since this machine is made for makers, makers are all over making all kinds of accessories for it. And that's been an amazing community to join. Actually, controlling the machine is done through an accessory like this tablet here. This is an Amazon Fire tablet. This is not included. You are required to provide your own, whether it's a tablet or a laptop, even a phone can be used. But it comes with this nice tablet holder that bolts to the side of the machine, and it can go on the left or the right side. The left just kind of worked best for here. It still clears the door when it's open, or you can tuck it even along the side of the machine. Very easy, very handy, and I like how that's done. The nice thing about this is that the program is not run from this. Actually, you upload it from the control here into the main machine. So even though that this is only connected to this via Wi-Fi, if you have any interruption on your device, it doesn't stop or affect how the program is run, which is great for reliability, and I love that feature about this. I mentioned that you can hook up the vacuum to this side here. That is run through a tube, which I currently have out of the machine. This tube is retained in the machine along the top, then it goes to the top of the spindle, down to the front, and then it's held on the bottom of the spindle face here with a couple of magnets. Now, the magnets on this are the one thing that I've had not the best experience with. I just don't feel like they're quite strong enough to hold this reliably in place. Even when you have the hose hooked into this, it almost wants to force it off. So this feels like it has fallen a little bit short. However, I've been using this mainly to cut metals, including aluminum and brass. And when doing that, I've been running either the air assist or that spindle fan. So I wasn't going to be using the dust collection anyway. However, if you do plan to use dust collection for like doing wood or things like that, then there's a number of improvements to this design that have been done by fellow makers that are super easy, free to download, and you can 3D print your own. And I feel like they've definitely made some improvements over Makera's original design here. The design and construction of this machine itself has been incredibly rigid, and I've been super pleased with that. From the beefy casting that they use for the actual support to these great big support rods that go across for the x-axis and underneath of the machine for the y-axis, it's all done really well. There are some thin materials on this, including like the back section, the top, as well as the the actual hood, but that's not what makes the machine rigid and accurate. Those are just for enclosing the rest of the machine, and it's been done pretty well. The y-axis slides on these rails, and they've got covers, which is just like a flexible rubber. Now, some chips will get down through there, and underneath of my machine, you can see witness to that, but it's not that bad. And even though I've been cutting quite a bit and making a lot of chips, underneath of there, I haven't cleaned it all yet. And, again, it's not that bad. So you're going to be making chips. You can see the dust that is still in here in spaces where I've been cutting a bunch of brass with a lot of air flying around, especially when using that spindle fan. So I've been wildly impressed with the effectiveness of this enclosure, as well as the noise level. Even when cutting metal, it's barely louder than like my H2D over there. Another one of my favorite features on here is this wired probe setup. It's got this holder that sits right here on the side of the spindle, and you just take it out and then you load it like a regular tool. The first thing it'll do is it'll go through and it will trace out the area that it's going to run the program with a laser on the outside. So you can make sure that your material is large enough that you're not going to run into any of your clamps. It's a super handy feature. Even having a CNC machine for years, I found that to be wildly helpful and something that I've never had before. Also, it's a touch probe, so it will go down and touch off on the material to set the origin height. That way it knows exactly where your material is. It can also do a grid pattern that will go all over your material. In case you have a slightly wavy material, something like that, it can help to automatically adjust so that your machining is as accurate as possible. It's like a bit of a 3D printing type mindset put into a desktop CNC, something that I've never personally ran into before in any of my dealings with CNC, and something that's just automatically handled by the software. I love it. Along with the machine itself and the tablet holder, you also have a ton of other things that you do need for this machine, and it includes this nice toolkit, which has some other fixture pieces, some other clamps, some tools that you use for setting up your tools for cutting, as well as a piece that's used for replacing the internal collet of the spindle. All of this is a really nicely done set. This area here used to hold the tools that were provided. However, I've made my own 3D printed holders here for some of the tooling that I've put together. Along with the tools and clamps and hardware, I also had a box of materials that was included, some PCB materials. So I haven't done much PCB stuff in the past, just a little bit, but looking forward to learning more and trying my own designs out soon. Then there's just, again, some extra tools. There's some accessories that you need. This is the laser unit. It comes in this little box here. It's a 5-watt system. So it's a low power laser, but that can still be a nice tool to add to your shop, especially with how easy it integrates into this machine. And then there's the 4th axis. Now this 4th axis setup is no just little additional accessory. It adds an incredible amount of capacity and capabilities to this machine. And having the ability to have a 4-axis CNC in my shop has just made me incredibly happy, and something that I'm learning more and more about every day. Now in the Carvera videos, they show, this ability to create some figurines or, chess type pieces, a bunch of things like that, which aren't necessarily the ways that I would want to be using this type of capability. While that is an amazing ability of what this has and what the included Makera cam can help you to do, for me, I wanted it to make more detailed or more complex machined metal parts where I could work on multiple sides at once without having to do multiple setups of my material on a typical 3-axis setup. This was a 4-axis file that I had created using Autodesk Fusion, which has been my preferred cam setup for this. Now, this was using a piece of 3/4 inch brass, and I machined the brass down, did all of my machining on one side, was able to rotate it, do machining on the other side, engraving on both sides of a part with a single setup. And again, the power that this has added to the shop has been something that I haven't fully unlocked yet. Now, installing this onto the table, pretty straightforward. It threads into some of these existing holes here, and then there's some cable management that you install with a simple double-sided tape type clip that goes here, and then it runs back and you plug it in just underneath of the X-axis rails up there. Super simple to install. The biggest hurdle with this is your ability to program it, which in general is one of the hardest things about desktop CNC machining. Controlling a CNC in the basic form is simple. On a tablet like this, you can expand the controls, and then you can simply jog the machine around by telling it to move an axis. It's very easy. You can move it, the head up and down. It's all very simple and very much like what you may have experienced previously with a 3D printer. It'll just move around, but actually programming it to cut and machine materials, that's where things are a little bit difficult. Now, as I mentioned, this comes with its own CAM software, or computer-aided machining. Not CAD, but CAM. You need to bring a CAD file into a CAM program and then define what tools and how those tools interact with your materials to actually create your finished parts. Again, that's the most difficult part of machining. Now, since I've been doing desktop machining for quite some time, I use Autodesk Fusion, which Makera is fully integrated to use by giving you post-processors, tool libraries, machine setups, and you just import those settings and it makes that whole process absolutely painless. And from there, it's writing tool paths like you would in any other CAM software. Now, I'm not going to be able to go through and show you how to create all of those tool paths in this video. That's something that hopefully I can show you in more detail later on. But that is the one hurdle that is going to be the biggest step for most people. It's not the setup, it's not getting the tools or the fixtures and clamps. They've made that stuff so easy by just providing you this super nice table with some very decent setup clamps. And then from there you can expand into adding other things like a vise if you would like, or even a custom 4th axis trunnion table. Now that I've been using the machine for a few weeks, I decided to pick up this service cart and set it up just specifically for this machine here. I 3D printed some tooling holders so that I can organize the tools that I have for this machine, as well as a caliper set. I'm going to kind of organize this further, some 3D printed trays and setups so everything has a place. I can have everything organized here. I also have some of the other like spare parts and manuals and everything that's included with the machine down in the drawer. The manuals and documentation that they include with this machine has been excellent. Beautiful color photos, easy to follow, good, just detailed explanations that are all in an easy to read format. There's no, bad translations or anything along those lines. Just excellent, excellent support material. They also give you some spare collet stuff. This uses typical 1/8" collets for the actual tools that you use most of the time. Tools will look something like this. This is a 2mm drill that's currently set up. The little collar that's on there is a nice stop to put into the spindle itself. Installing these collars is a press fit, not something you can just push on by hand, but in this tool set, this piece here is made to allow you to just spin those collars on easily, and they give you a little baggie of them here, and then a huge second baggie of them. It's just really nice, all of the things that they included with this. Tooling for a machine like this is really inexpensive as well, but they provide you with a ton of it. Most of this here is from Makera. Some of it is my own that I've added or purchased after the fact. All of this is stuff that I've purchased myself. But most of these here were provided with the machine. If you've never programmed a file before and you're just kind of learning this whole setup, the big red stop button that they have is going to be something that you can be ready for. And while this Family Feud style stop button is super nice, there's also another one on top here, or there's even one on the tablet. So in case of emergency, you've got a number of ways to get this thing halted, but it also has its own safeties built in. One really nice thing about this is that it feeds back its information to the tablet, including the actual spindle speed, so you can tell how the spindle's loading up. That's something that I've never had in a desktop CNC. It's something that's actually communicating its actual position and feeds back to the control. Most of the machines that I've used before have just been simple setups that had no idea where it was after you initially said. So if it skipped a step or was slowed down, you had no idea, or it had no idea. You had to just watch what it was doing. So the biggest question is a desktop CNC machine right for you? The ability to cut thick aluminum parts, brass, carbon fiber, create your own PCBs. All of that is what makes having a desktop CNC so appealing over something that's like a 3D printer. But the hurdles that come with it are not small, and they're going to take some serious learning if this is something that you want to dive into that you've never done before. The first hurdle for something like this is CAD. And CAD can be something that can be daunting to a lot of people because you need a file to cut. You need a model to base and tell this machine where to cut, where to drill, what exactly it's supposed to do. And that's something that differs largely from something like a 3D printer where you just give it a model and you say, make this. Maybe you want it higher resolution or a little bit thicker walls, things like that. Some very basic things compared to writing tool paths for a CNC. You have to make the decision what type of tooling is best for you, from size of the end mill or drill, when to chamfer, or how deep to engrave. All of these things are going to come with experience, and there's nothing that's complete voodoo. There's information of all of it available online, but you will have to seek it out. So is a desktop CNC for most people? No, it's not. But makers aren't most people. If you're a maker and you think that this is something you want to get into, this is the easiest setup that I've seen to start with. The amount of tooling that they give you, the clamps, the fixture plate, everything that they've provided for this, the software that they allow for control, the ability to use so many different types of things to control it, and even the free CAM software that they provide with the machine makes this by far the easiest system that I've seen to start with. Now, it's not an inexpensive unit, and depending on the features or the add-ons that you include, it can get up there even a little bit more. But for what capabilities it gives you, for what it's added to my shop, I think that the value is clear for somebody like me, where this is a tool that I can't imagine not having. If there was anything that I wish this had, for me, is a slightly larger bed. The bed size on this is very reasonable, and for even most of my projects, it is going to handle it with no problem. But there are some projects that I have that would extend past its limits, and for that, I'll just have to go with different methods. But for most everything that I do, and for what it has added with the capabilities of the 4th axis, it's an amazing new tool for me. And if you're already familiar with my channel, then you probably are familiar with Scale Builders Guild. He recently got one of these as well, and I've been helping him kind of step through the process of learning it as a first-time ever CNC owner. He has done the 3D printing side only, and now this is his first experience with that, and he is already successfully creating custom parts. But Matt is a competent amateur at CAD already, so learning the toolpath creation and tool selection was the step that he needed to get into next. So if you need to do both CAD and CAM learning, your learning curve is going to be a little bit steeper, but there's something about creating your own custom metal detailed parts that is so satisfying, and this machine has made it easier than anything that I've personally owned so far. It's put a huge smile on my face for weeks already, and if that's the type of gratification you're looking for, check this thing out. I'll put a link down in the description again. Thanks to Makera for providing me this machine. As said before, this has all been my honest opinion of it, and I couldn't be happier to have it in the shop. If you have any questions about the machine, drop them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them. And of course, I plan to have a bunch of follow-up videos. So follow along. I'm looking forward to creating a ton of projects with this new machine. And if you're interested in seeing any of those, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you see those as soon as they pop up. But that is going to do it for my first video on the Carvera Air. Many more to come, like it or not.